Uh, which topic will be responsible AI for children online, followed by the speaker spotlight by Nesta Paul Katende about AI skills and youth empowerment, followed by another speaker spotlight, ethical and inclusive AI by Irene Esther Mtuzo. And then we shall have a panel discussion, which I will moderate, followed by a youth engagement spotlight by Joseph Rugasira. And then we'll have key takeaways and closing remarks. And thank you so much to all of our speakers that have been able to put aside time and be a part of this. Thank you, Jonathan, Nesta, and Irene, and Joseph. It is a pleasure to have you here. So, Joseph, kindly confirm if you are around and you're available. I see he's unavailable for now. So I think, Cliff, you can go ahead and give the opening remarks. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sheila, and good evening, guests, partners, colleagues, friends. It's my great pleasure to have you here today for this webinar. And this webinar is really special in a way that it's the first of its kind that the Uganda DNS Forum is doing. As you very well know, the Uganda DNS Forum was inaugurated last year in December, and the Uganda DNS Forum is meant to bring together different stakeholders like you, different stakeholders from government, academia, civil society, and the different stakeholder groups. So it's really a space for each and every one, especially for those who are working in the area of DNS and beyond. And as we continue to expand digital access across Uganda and beyond, we have found that it's increasingly clear that access alone is not enough, but having a trustworthy internet that works for all of us is important. And at this point, as we celebrate the Safer Internet Day, which looks at making the internet safer for children and youth, I am more than glad to have our distinguished speakers and panelists for this webinar. And I do hope that we are going to have a session filled with learning, peer learning, and knowledge sharing, and hopefully some projects coming out of this. Thank you so much, and over to you, Sheila.
Thank you so much, Cliff, for those opening remarks. While Joseph joins, I will take over his part, the program. But for now, allow me welcome Jonathan Kayemba. Jonathan, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I don't know if I'm loud and clear.
Yes, you are loud and
Yes, you are. Yes, you're loud and clear.
Okay. So should I take it forward?
Yes, you can. The floor is yours. Thank you so much for taking time to be with us.
Thank you very much. For avoidance of doubt, and for everyone on the call, I don't know if you can see me. Not very different from how I look. Yeah, so you're speaking to the right person. I'm going to remove the video such that we can go into the presentation. Let me begin by wishing us a happy, safe internet day. And I'm glad that we getting into the culture of celebrating such milestones and such days, especially in the digital era that we are in today. I'm going to share my screen and then I'm going to dive right into what I need to present. If you can see my screen, you give me a thumbs up. And I don't know if we can all see my screen. Are we good to go? All right. So my name is Jonathan Kayemba. I'm an information systems engineer, and I have been at this for 2 decades. And I've also been working in the AI space in part of my practice for the last 15 years. I'm excited to be here, and I am equally a student to the subject as everyone else. And I'm going to be as simple and precise as I can be, bearing in mind that we are all at different levels when it comes to these technical jargons. So to begin off, I'll begin with the reality. What's the reality for Uganda's youth when it comes to the subject matter? We are over 18 million internet users to date, and about 46% of these users are under 24 years, meaning that around 26 are mainly youths and the broader majority are children. Likewise, yeah, 3 in 5 children face online risks and are left without protection. So this sort of sets precedence for what we are discussing today. And if I can move on, we can clearly see that Uganda's population is increasing. In as much as internet is becoming accessible, we are also being exposed to the dangers like phishing, fake websites, inappropriate content, and predators that are online. So safety becomes a big concern for us as we get deeper into this digital era. So what is DNS? I would leave this to the pros, but in simple terms, normally the computer understands numerical values. And when we type a website like, say, logoscloudservices.com, the computer will be able to interpret numbers. So DNS is the system that helps translate what we type into what the computer can understand. And so it's very important for us to protect the DNS because by securing it, we can block out all the other dangers that come with it. And a good example of that is malicious sites before they can get loaded and affect us. So one of the ways to defend the children and the youth is being able to, first of all, safeguard and secure the DNS. I'll not go deeper into this, but these are, in terms of comparison, a standard DNS looks like this. The requests are sent in plain text. Anyone can see them. No way to verify if the responses are genuine, vulnerable to hijacking, and man-in-the-middle attacks or bad actors. And there is no built-in content filtering. So ideally, that's what the DNS system would look like. So conventional, if we're using the internet, that is what would be subject to. Now, a secure DNS would mean that all the things that we are typing into the internet and all the activity that we are doing is encrypted. That means that our browsing remains safe. The DNSSEC is basically a protocol that validates responses through authentication. And this is normally done by making the conversations cryptic. So basically, for lack of a better word, that's the best way I can put it, such that we don't get lost. Now, we are also in an era where phishing is increasing, and phishing are basically people who create activities or actions that seem to be legitimate and warrant us to take reactions, which sometimes would render us in the not so good places. And we can see that through the emails we get that are trying to trick us into taking some actions which end up affecting us. Then a secure DNS can also enforce content filtering. So filtering content is very key, especially on the subject that we are on. If we don't filter what goes through the internet, have the kind of challenges sometimes we are faced with. So narrowing it down to why we are here. So how do we secure DNS in order to protect the children? By one, blocking these harmful sites. So we can take stock and inventory of some of these sites such that we can prevent access to these malicious websites, the phishing pages, and any inappropriate content really before children or the youth, for that matter, access them. Then we can also stop some of these phishing attacks. We can intercept some of these fake websites that steal information, and also all the other things really that are associated with such cyber-related crimes. The goal also is to intercept such that we don't have to remedy or remediate. Prevention is better than cure. Filters that are unsafe. We can also filter unsafe content, like I'd made mention. Having filters enables us be able to protect. Then privacy is something that we need to protect, especially for children. And some of the companies online are doing a good job. Others are yet to get there. So what is safe AI? This is something I'll not go so deep into because the other speakers are going to discuss it. But AI has been designed, developed, and deployed with safeguards to prevent harm. And for some of us who are in the spaces, having responsible and safe AI is a must. And so whatever inventions and innovations we are doing around AI, it should be safe and it should be used responsibly. So in terms of safety, when it comes to AI, transparency is key. We also need to have fair and unbiased content. Otherwise, then the AI would be subject to abuse. Then privacy first. We have to make sure that there is data protection and all the other things that come around that. Now, in this context, we're talking about children. Children's data must be protected. Then human oversight. We shouldn't get to a point where the machine is doing all the work for us. We should also have some internal controls where there's a human to come in to intervene and be able to spot out some of these things. Accountability is very key. Being responsible when it comes to these AI systems is a must. And this, I'm sure most of us in our places of work or in practice, we have seen. So finally, we need to have a child-centered setting, which is designed with best interest for children. AI, just like YouTube or even TV home, if you're having TV that we are watching home, if it's not safeguarded, then children are going to be really vulnerable and they are going to be at risk. Even where I am home, I make sure DSTV is locked. All the other apps, Netflix, I make sure that they are locked, but also not being locked. I monitor what the children are watching and what they are also accessing, and also who is accessing our internet and what they are doing. I will not go so deeper into this, but responsible AI for children and their safety online. What are the things that we can do? Being able to detect cyberbullying and harmful language, identifying suspicious online behavior and grooming patterns. My daughter was playing a game and I noticed that these games give them access to chatting. And so I had to get in and see the kind of people she was chatting with and just try to get a feel. And that's something I had to block. We were not aware of it. But again, by being a good supervisor, I was able to pick that up. Then age-appropriate content filtering that adapts and learns. Because the children have access to AI through these devices that we use or they have access to at school, it's very important to make sure that the content that's in there is filtered to their age brackets. Then smart parental controls, those I've talked about, that balance safety while leaving the children independent and untampered with. Automated alerts, these are very good in cases where the children are vulnerable. We can be able to pick the situations. I had a quote here: AI must be deployed ethically, protecting children's privacy, avoiding bias, and always keeping human oversight in the loop. And technology should empower young people, not surveil them. I always joke with my partner that our role is not to create surveillance, but to create the environment for the children to thrive. As I begin to wind down, online safety for children and the youth, what does it mean? These are the risks which we have seen: cyber bullying, online predators, phishing and scam, harmful content, privacy violations. All these are the things that the children and the youth are exposed to. What can we do? We need to educate. Sensitization is one of the biggest weapons. I'm also a practitioner in cybersecurity, and 70% of the cyber-related issues can be best resolved with education. So educating children early is critical. Open dialogue is also important. Sometimes we can learn from the youth and the children. We shouldn't be biased, but we should have open dialogue and come to a consensus which protects them as well as us. Then using protective tools. One of that we have talked about is the DNS SEC protocol, the parental controls, and where now we are heading is using AI to be able to do this heavy lifting for us. Empower and don't restrict. The goal really is to enable the youth become responsible rather than simply blocking them from these things. Because once we block, they will definitely innovate and find their way to these things. I will not go through much how the DNS and AI work, but that diagram there paints the picture properly. I put in a query. Example there, a child tries to visit a website, and then the AI should be able to analyze and evaluate, pick up the threats if there are any, and also go ahead and filter and make sure that only content which is okay or safe can be passed. And then finally, you have the trust appropriate content there. So I have also something I put at the footnote. Secure DNS provides the infrastructure to block threats at the network level. And this is very important that the DNS will protect at the network level. AI can come in as the intelligence layer that can be able to create all these other things like threat detection and then being able to remediate all these evolving risks while also providing that personalized protection for the children online. The practical guidance, which is what I'll dwell so much on. So what do we parents need to do? We have to use the DNS-based filters, such as clean browsing, open DNS, and things of the like. Maybe in another conversation, we'll have a deep dive into this at a later date. Then set up age-appropriate parental controls. This we are on all the devices, something we have mentioned. Have open conversations around online safety. For us who are educators, being able to deploy again DNS at the school networks is important to block harmful content and then integrate digital literacy into the curriculum. This is something that most of the institutions are doing very well, and teach students to recognize phishing and fake sites. Maybe we are not doing that as much as we should. And I encourage all educators maybe listening and those who have access to this to look at the last two, being able to incorporate some of these conversations into digital literacy, and as well as helping students really be able to respond to some of these attacks like phishing and the like. For organizations which most of us are part of, already this has been implemented for us by our IT teams, but also being able to adopt AI-powered monitoring tools that have ethical safeguards. The goal also for the country is to be able to come up with AI-driven solutions that are unique to our needs here. The biggest cost for most businesses and institutions in online safety are the tools. So if we can have localized tools, we can actually be able to do a lot and even protect ourselves better. Then support community awareness programs. These are starting to mushroom, but I hope that we can actually do a much better job. With that, I can end by saying together we can make the internet safer for every child, and a secure DNS plus responsible AI equals to a safer digital Uganda. Happy Safe Internet Day. Once again, my name is Jonathan Kayemba, and I lead a team of engineers here at Logos Cloud Edge. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening. I hand back over to Sheila.
Thank you so much, Jonathan, for that amazing presentation. I kindly request you to share it because it was quite insightful. There's a lot more that we can pick from it. Yeah, thank you. And next on the program, we have another speaker. Oh, you can start your presentation.
Yes, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if I'm audible.
Yes, Nesta, you're audible, and good evening to you.
We can hear you. Good evening.
Apologies. I was having some bit of a hiccup and the internet here with me here. But it's a pleasure, it's an honor to be on this forum. Thank you so much for the invitation. Thank you so much for inviting me here today. I don't know if some of us have seen me, like my senior who has been sharing amazing conversation that I would also love to have a presentation. Thank you so much, Jonathan, for that. And I think I'll follow suit and share my video so that you put a name to the face as well. Yes, that is who I am. I don't know if that's who I am. So it's a great pleasure to be here today. Thank you so much for the invitation. And thank you so much, Jonathan, for the presentation that has been shared. When I was contacted to be part of this webinar, I thought about many things to talk about. And I was like, should I prepare a presentation or should I, speak from some of the experiences we have had in working with different corporate organizations and the government of Uganda in democratizing AI across the country and building AI systems. A little bit about OTIC. We are based here in Uganda, but also in Kigali. So we have 2 offices, and we foundationally are building. We work with different corporate organizations, especially financial institutions, where we deploy agentic AI systems for them. Just to give you a little bit of exposure of what we do. So we've worked with different corporate institutions and the government in building AI systems in terms of agentic AI systems and AI digital twins. Essentially, what a digital twin is that when a bank wants to launch a product into the market, they sort of want to have a digital replica of that product to sort of assess whether it's a viable direction to go to, whether they should invest in it, allocate funds, a human resource, whatever it has to do. So we build those digital twins of products. But then the agentic AI systems and the multi-agent systems that we have deployed in some of the banks we have been working with as well have been something that we do. But above and beyond, we also do AI education, where we work with the Ministry of ICT across and UNDP across most of the hubs, national hubs, and so far we have trained about 5,600 people, 640 people. So in this conversation that we are on, oh, thank you so much. Right now, just to get straight to the point, I just wanted to share from the experience we have had. I did not prepare a presentation, but I pray that you just hear me out. The language of AI is changing every day. We are now in what we call the law of accelerated returns. So AI is pivoting. So fast. The law of accelerated returns is like computing power now is doubling every after 2 months. Previously, we were operating under Moore's law, Gordon Moore. You remember Gordon Moore was the co-founder of Intel. By that time, we founded Gordon Moore's law around 1960, right? And his law was that computing power doubles every after 3 years. So there's a 3-year dispensational leap. Every 3-year dispensational leap, computing power has been increasing. Right now, the law of accelerated returns is in progress. So every after 2 months, AI landscape is already changing. The AI of January 2025 is different from the AI of now January 2020, February 2026. Earlier, around 2024, 2023, we didn't have a lot of agentic AI systems. We had a lot of reactive systems. The ChatGPTs, the Geminis, and all these models are more reactive. Now, agentic AI systems are into a conversation, literally redefining Fortune 500 companies, that now we are entering into the space of companies that are going to be run by one individual who has a laptop and internet, and AI agents are, literally replacing most of these departments, siloed departments. Obviously, there's a human in the loop there, obviously, for governance. But as you can see where the future is going. And so for us, when we notice that future, we realize, okay, this is now the direction to go when approaching corporate institutions. And I can tell you, some corporate institutions we have worked with, especially financial institutions, have come in to say, okay, can we digitize the whole department? Can we begin that conversation? And actually, we have begun some, which I'll share on our socials. You'll see some of the corporate institutions that we have literally digitized and built a multi-agent system that has digitized a whole end-to-end process, the first of its kind. So it's an amazing thing that's happening. Now, from that background, when I come to the conversation of AI applications and strategies to equip children with essential skills, when we come to our children, it's important that they are exposed to the trained AI. Now, if you're an ardent scholar and you read through the patterns, let me give you an example. The first AI chatbot was what, 1960, Eliza. Okay, and it would pop back what's given. You speak to it and say, my mother is okay. So it reads that line and picks the word mother, and then it can be able to say, it can decode and say, okay, mother is related to family. And so then it will ask, how's your family? Eliza was the first AI chatbot. During that time in 1960, I'm just giving an example to answer this question, and then we'll be done to the next speaker. That time in 1960, Eliza comes. So the very first, of course, AI came in 1950 there by Alan Turing, but 1960 around there, that's when Eliza, the first AI chatbot, came in through us in that conversation and space. And fast forward to the early 2020s, we enter into, so from Eliza, we enter into the machine learning and data analytics space, okay? And then from machine learning and data analytics space, we enter into the LLMs, right? Large language models, now we're in the agentic AI systems. Now, all these periods of the evolution of AI carried their own course outlines. They carried their own curriculums. They carried their own programs. They carried their own degrees. They carried their own diplomas. So machine learning and data analytics, the first concept around the early 2000s, created all these courses that we see, machine learning, data analytics, around the early 2000s. But as AI progresses here, now we enter into prompt engineering, the LLMs are here. I was speaking to someone recently, and they're from China. Studied from, I think, university in Beijing. And prompt engineering alone, what people take for there's a full master's degree in that university in prompt engineering. I was like, this is serious. So we have prompt engineering, and these are the courses, generative AI, okay, LLMs. Now we are into agentic AI systems. Now the question to see, and you'll agree with me, is that now if a child does a course based on, and the principles obviously are the same, the principles are the same, the groundwork is always the same. It's okay. It's important, of course, as a child is being grounded, and the principles are the same. The principles across all these evolutions and ages of AI are the same. But then sometimes I ask myself that if a child does a course based on the age of artificial intelligence as of the year 2000s, when machine learning has just come into play, they may be competing with the AI of 2026. So they are doing a course competing with what AI now is doing in 2026. So I go ahead and do a machine learning course, a data analytics course. Yet agentic AI systems right now are doing exactly that. That's why when we saw that conversation, we're like, okay, can we now begin to pioneer agentic AI courses so that we do not train a child to do simply machine learning and data analytics, but build AIs that do data analytics and data and machine learning. And then we tested it in South Korea, where we do our business process outsourcing. And these guys wanted people that understand agentic AI architecture. They no longer want data analysts anymore globally because the competition is so high. You see, they want people which can design systems that do that. So now it begs the question of, because a degree in Uganda takes 7 years, I think 6 or 7 years to be upgraded. 6-7 years is a lifetime in the world of tech, where computing power is doubling after 2 years. So sometimes I ask myself a question: what courses? Yes, we're talking about AI, but what level of AI are we talking about in this case, and what kind of practical skills are we exposing them to? Practical skills, yes, but which ones? Yes, it's AI, but which AI? Because I risk the place of exposing it to one AI which is competing with the AI of the now. AI is not, it's not just enough to talk about AI. You must be relevant in your conversation of AI. Otherwise, we shall have too many people which talk about AI and they're not relevant anymore. They simply administer more questions than answers to the hearers or to the people that hear them. I don't know if I'm making sense. So again, the first thing I'm saying, that practical AI skills, it's important to define which practical AI skills are you talking about. AI is now moving at a particular rate and speed. That's why we reached out. We began the first of its kind towards the end of the year. We are doing courses, data analytics, machine learning courses, and they have beautiful courses. Everybody can do those courses. I mean, I was a data analyst. I've been in banking for a bit, 4 years, 3 years. But I've been in 2 tier 1 commercial banks, and been in telecom, residing in 2 consultancy. So I understand data end to end. But then now I cannot expose a child to that right now. That COVID takes for you to mutate and adopt to be current, for a company in North Korea to hire you, because the speed at which these men require products and services globally is just out of this world. So we launched out agentic AI courses, where now, through our institute here, we are exposing young people not just AI, but we are opening their eyes to the fact that, okay, can we quicken the process for you to understand agentic AI systems? And now you can use these agentic AI systems to build a website, to build a software, to build an engine that does data science and data analytics, to become an agentic AI architect in whatever field that you're in, whether it's in finance, whether it is. And you know what's amazing? We've gotten some of these guys who have not even yet entered our campus. And when we go to some of these banks and financial institutions, we go with them. And they're having ground practical experience with an AI conversation that is current and relevant. So as I finish on that spotlight, if I am talking about practical applications to equip children with essential skills safely, one, what AI skills am I talking about? So I've defined that one, they must be current. But then number two, essential skills to keep children with essential skills safely. Obviously, I think our speaker, Jonathan, has given us a very wonderful background and foundation in that I will go back here and say there's something I wrote here in my notes. Just give me a second. Just give me a second. Yes, I think for me, my place of safely, for my interaction, I'll take it in this kind of route. Especially when talking about AI, many people have a bias that AI, and I've had this conversation that AI is going to make our children dumb. It's going to make our children, for lack of a better word, stupid. Many people have those conversations, and especially in academia space. But the mindset is important. That, dear child, you are above this technology. It's just an enabler. It doesn't make you stupid. It doesn't make you dumb. You are the one that gives it your print, your distinction, and it's just a tool for you to make your to amplify the gift and talent that's upon your life. You are the one that gives it your print. You are the one that gives it your ethos. You are the one that defines its course. It's simply a tool. So recently, we were training some teachers at somewhere, lecturers, and we're telling them, please stop telling children that it's going to make them dumb. Raise their vision, elevate their thought process to know that they are above this technology, therefore they govern it. Let's not raise victims of children and then paint AI so bad and you are so low down there. No, give them that authority and tell them, you know what, we are wiser than this thing. And then when you open our children's eyes to the fact that they are above this thing, then there's there's a confidence they will have to know that, okay, if I'm above this thing, therefore now I can determine how far I can use it. I'm in charge, right? I understand its limitations. I understand its causative effects on me, whether positive or negative. And all those things. I think it goes back to how we speak to our children when it relates to AI. You are above it. You give it the print and direction, right? Okay. And it's simply a tool. I think it goes back to the mindset by which we approach AI to these young children. And when I have cousins that use it, but that's the approach to take it. So now you produce a responsible student at an early age, a responsible child at an age. That's some child who say, but this thing is telling me things I don't understand. I don't like it. You see, because you have provoked that space in them to question the AI, not create a victimized child because they're using AI. Don't paint a victim. No, AI, you see, it's going to do this for you. No, it's going to do this. No, by the way, it's bad. No. It's simply a tool. You are in charge. So I expect a certain kind of what? Maturity. Obviously, there are some guardrails we put along, and speakers here and maybe Q&A is going to come through. But then it goes back to the mindset by which we expose our children to these things, not simply from a negative, victimized mindset. When you give the child responsibility to know that they're in charge, and this is, they give it the print, right? They give it their ethos. That child will then come to you and say, Daddy, I don't agree with this AI. I think this thing is not right. Okay? You're producing a particular maturity early because you have told them, no, this thing is simply a tool. It's not there to control you. And so for me, those are the words I wanted to share in this spotlight. Otherwise, thank you so much. Again, for me, one, the conversation of AI and skills should be defined by number two, raise the child and give them that responsibility and exposure to know that they're in charge of this thing. Therefore, you're going to create a responsible child who will simultaneously or question even without your absence, because we will never be with these children everywhere. You will not be with them when they're at school, when they're using ChatGPT on that computer. So you need to raise a particular child who knows who they are and knows that they have a distinction, they have a gift, they have a talent. AI is simply a tool, and they have the right to question. Add that with the different safeguards we have on AI, and our children will be safe. Ava, thank you so much for the invitation. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Nesta, for that powerful presentation. Actually, I think my biggest and favorite takeaway is we should not victimize ourselves and our children to AI or go with the flow of it's going to spoil you or it's going to make you dumb up. I mean, humans made AI. We are the ones that give it everything that it gives us. So the more responsibly you use it, the better of a person it makes you. So thank you so much, Nesta, for that. Next on the agenda, I'd like to invite Irene Esther Mutuzo. You're on. The floor is yours.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me and see me?
Yes, we can.
All
We can
right.
hear
Thank
you.
you very much. It is such a pleasure to be here. And first, I'm a psychologist, then I'm a parent, and I'm also an advocate for ethical AI use. And when I was asked to speak about this topic, for me, it's very passionate. I'm very passionate about it because I'm raising a little one that is going to go out into the world. So I'm constantly thinking about how safe are they, as well as how are they thinking? Are they being creative? And I'd just like to start from where Nesta left off, that AI will not make children dumber. And allow me to put a spin in the works and say that it can make children dumber if it is not used the right way. Currently, we have seen research that shows that the current generation, the Gen Z generation after the millennial, is actually considered dumber. And this was tested when this group of, the people that fall into this category, they were tested with you'd say the standard questions that anyone would be tested with. And it showed that compared to any other generation, they actually scored very lowly when it came to reading, numeracy, as well as sustained attention. And one of the reasons this was highlighted was because this, unlike the millennials, unlike, the generations before us, our parents and our grandparents, this particular generation of children has been exposed so much to screens. It has been exposed now so much to AI. So while we often think that by overexposure, we are helping the children, or by overexposure, they are learning, the research actually shows that they're not learning. They're not thinking, they're not retaining, and they're also not being creative. What does that tell us? I believe it's very, very alarming, and it is something that should open our eyes to tell us that even as we introduce this AI, we need to be careful with how we are introducing it to. We need to ensure that these children, yes, much as they know that they have this powerful tool, are they using it the right way? Are they using it all the time? Because a powerful coder is not one who's learned only through AI. A powerful coder is probably one who's come from the foundations. So how can we still expose the children to the foundations, to counting, to adding? I worry that if we don't have that balance, we're going to have children that will go to ChatGPT to add 4 plus 4, and that will be very scary and very sad. So when we talk about ethical and inclusive AI use for children, we need to think about, one, are we enabling their growth? Are we enabling their development? Are we enabling their creativity? If the tools we are building are not doing that, then we are failing at ethics and inclusivity. When we also talk about inclusivity, we need to think about the contexts that we are in. The way a child in Uganda will probably interact with AI might be a bit different from the way another child will. The systems that we're building, the tools that we're exposing these children to, are these tools that can actually work for their contexts. If I went in and talked about the challenges of, say, water loss, or the challenges that a typical African child faces, what would come up from that tool? Does this understand my context? When we also talk about inclusivity, and we also talk about ethics, we need to think about the cultural aspects, because as Africans, as Ugandans, we have so much rich culture. And yes, much as modernization has come in, there is so many ethics, there's so many habits, there's so many good manners we have learned from those cultural aspects. So even as we have these different AI tools, are they speaking to these aspects? Then when we also talk about inclusivity, I worry that if we do not build tools for the rural child, we're actually going to widen the already existing poverty gap. We're going to widen the already existing education gap, because the child who has access to AI is going to be able to easily pass their exam, and a child who doesn't won't be able to. Where does that leave them? Where does that leave them in the competition? So, ladies and gentlemen, when we speak about ethics and inclusivity in children's AI, we need to think about development, fairness, and human growth. Otherwise, we risk raising a new generation that is not going to be able to think. And we are already seeing the results with the Gen Z generation. How about the Gen Alpha generation of my son? Now that they'll have all this AI to them, I worry, will they be able to think? But that is up to us. If we can teach these children to use these systems the right way, just like you go ahead and teach a child, it is not good to steal. Can we teach them it is not good to rely on AI for everything? Can we teach them you should be able to understand what AI gives you, so that they are not in this black box where they don't even know how they are coming up with information? That is for us to start today. Those children are children. They are not going to learn anything on their own. Yes, they'll have a level of autonomy, but when it comes to using this very powerful tool the right way, it comes to us as custodians, as developers, as parents, and as teachers. And like Nesta rightfully said, AI provides various benefits, from enabling students with disabilities to learn better, where we're seeing speech to text. We're seeing all these different tools that are helping children with disabilities to learn. It also personalizes learning, whereby gone are the days where the teacher would teach us everything at the same time. But at this time, the AI is able to say that probably this particular student needs help in this particular topic, and they're able to get that help in a customized, in a personalized way. So if we use it the right way, our children's learning is actually going to improve. If we teach children to co-create, to work with AI as a co-pilot, we are going to actually see these children get smarter than dumber. But how we introduce them, how they are working with them, is what will actually help us or tell us the truth. Then, ladies and gentlemen, yes, much as we look at the very good pros and benefits AI produces, we also need to look at the downsides, because those downsides, even though we tend to ignore them, these are actually what are going to make us and help us build better systems. For instance, there's a recent story from a year ago where a family wanted to sue OpenAI. I think they actually went ahead because ChatGPT had actually aided their son's suicide. Now, ideally, for you as a developer, if you are, you are developing an LLM or you're developing any systems, can you be able to put certain safeguards within your system, that when you notice that a child is steering from a conversation that they should not, you can automatically kick them out of the system. Or you can, you can alert their parents. See, some of these systems can be tagged to alerts. So that we also protect these children as they're using the system. Children are children. And someone may ask, how far is too much? Am I trying to control my child too much? Am I trying to, am I seeing what is on their screen? And I want to say, control them. Observe them. Look at what they are searching for. Check their chats. Check the history of their chats. For so long, and by the time he got to make that decision of let me commit suicide, he had so many chats, to the point where the ChatGPT even told him, this is how you can hang a rope to be able to kill yourself. Can you imagine? So let us observe these children, because they are children. As we support them, let us observe them. And even as we support them, what we do as parents, what we do as teachers, affects how the children view ChatGPT. Forgive me if I'm going to attack some parents here, but there are some of us, because the holiday has just ended, your child has not finished the holiday package, and you're like, you know what? We're going to finish this holiday package in 2 minutes. Let's go to ChatGPT. And the child is literally watching you do their homework on ChatGPT. What do you think that child is going to think? That child is going to grow up thinking that this ChatGPT is a shortcut for them. That whatever they want, they don't have to work that hard. They don't have to think that hard. They don't have to critically work that hard, so that because the ChatGPT will always be there for them. How about you actually take the time to sit down with them, take them through the question, do the question without the ChatGPT, then probably bring in the ChatGPT after the child has done something. So you can see the differences in which we are exposing this ChatGPT to the child. In point one, we are letting the child know that, this thing can do anything. You don't have to work very hard. You don't have to learn all these things. But on point two, we are showing them how to co-create, how to work with it. Someone is saying that they are guilty of using ChatGPT. I know how it feels. I know you want that homework done. You want that holiday work done very fast. But ladies and gentlemen, these things are going to have detrimental effects on our children in the long run. That someone, in the future, we're not going to be telling children, don't fight, because that will be an obvious thing. But now we'll start telling children and people, don't over rely on AI, or don't use AI to create the wrong images. So the very same way we put so much time in instilling these habits in our children, because the world we are going to, yes, everyone is going to use AI. What will happen in a class where everyone can use AI? What will make your child stand out? It will be their creativity. It will be their critical thinking. Even if they will use this AI like everyone else, the output they will have because of that creativity and that critical thinking will be completely different. And that we can only start building in their early years. Then a call to all of us. It's not just going to take the teachers, it's not just going to take the parents, but also the policymakers. What policies are in place? For some of us who own schools, some of us who are parents in schools, can you put policies in place that actually guides these people on how to use AI? If you're a parent and you're saying things are going wrong, what policies do you have in place? Yes, we want tech, but there's a reason why some people who have gone before us are actually now telling us reduce the tech. For instance, you'll find that in the Swedish schools, they have said that having realized that overexposure of children to digital devices was reducing their cognitive ability, creative thinking, they are now reintroducing books and paper. What does that tell us? Yes, this AI is beautiful, but there's a lot of power in our brains. There's a lot of power in the old and traditional. So we have to merge that too. We cannot just, throw away everything. I want to, my child will read everything on the screen. My child will only watch YouTube videos and that will be their class. My child will use ChatGPT for each and everything. We need to go back to that traditional teaching and then merge it. When we have those two together, that is when we are actually building and protecting and giving our children more. To close my statements, I just want to speak to the developers. We developers have so much power. And I myself have been in the development world before I now switched to being a full-time lecturer. Why, yes, we do want money. And because I've been in the development world, I know every click matters, every sign up matters. But each time we are building these systems, I implore us to think beyond ourselves. If your 5-year-old or 6-year-old used the very same system you're building, would they be safe? If your 5-year-old or 6-year-old used that LLM that you're building, can it increase their creativity or will it dampen it? And I've even seen the way these systems are built. They're built in a way that they force the person to think. So yes, you go to them and tell them, write me this essay or something. But it goes ahead and gets into your brain and asks you to give it more. By doing that, it's actually pushing you to think. It's actually pushing you to create and think. So as developers, can we integrate these things into our systems? Can we integrate parental controls, flags, At that time, everyone was shocked, was like, what? You mean ChatGPT didn't have a filter for this? Yes, probably it was intentional because we are now seeing that Grok, is open to putting out explicit content and all these things. Maybe it's intentional for the money, but again, we should be different developers. Developers building for ethics, developers building for inclusivity, and developers building for the common good of our children. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Irene. Wow, you have really broken it down when it comes to inclusivity and protection of children online. And up next, we have a panel discussion and a Q&A with our 3 previous speakers, and I will be the moderator. Since we're a bit behind on time, I did not want to cut any of the keynote speakers' presentations short because they were all speaking powerful points. So I think I'll just shorten the panel discussion. So I'm going to start with Irene. So if AI systems do increasingly shape what children see and learn and interact with online, what red flags should parents and educators alike be most alert towards? Like there are those very, very common and huge red flags that we can put in place even before a child attempts to get an answer from an AI chatbot. And what red flags can those be to at least provide a foundation of their protection?
Thank you very much. I would say, having raised my siblings and now also raising a child, I know every single time your child is hiding, that is a red flag. Or every single time, you are doing homework and your child tells you, but my friends told me they use ChatGPT. That is a red flag, We all know our children. We can tell when our children are lying. We can tell when our children are up to something. But we can only tell when we are with our children and we are observing. So observe your child. Each time you find that your child is taking away your phone, taking away their laptop and they are locking themselves in the room, that is a very big red flag. If they need to use a gadget, let it be a shared gadget. That psychologically sort of prevents them from going into where they should not have gone into, because they know when I do this, mommies and daddy are going to be there. And also, when you're introducing these devices, if the child is below 18, sit with them there, have a conversation as they are scrolling through whatever they are scrolling. You will be able to see what they are up to and what they are not up to. But most importantly, like I said, tell them how to use it the right way. Yes, I agree, we can't shield them, we can't keep them in a bubble that, oh, this thing doesn't exist. What? If you use it, you're a bad person. No, we can't shield them. They have to use the AI. They are going to, they're going to have to compete with people who have been using and exposed to AI for a long time. But let us encourage them to use it only when they need to. But also, let us also question whether they have the foundations of whatever they need to learn. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Irene. And then to Nesta, in your experience, what is that one big misconception that parents have about AI tools that we urgently need to correct? Because I'm sure with the OTIC group and OTIC Foundation, I've actually attended one of your trainings on AI. So, in your experience with interaction with people in all the age groups, starting from the Gen Zs to the ages of our parents, what is that huge misconception about AI tools and how do we correct it?
Yes. The huge misconception about AI tools and how do we correct it, especially among young people. Give you an example of an experience I had. I was very fast. I was speaking to young people aged, I think they were aged it was aged 9 to 17 years. It was a boot camp. I was very honored to speak on. And there was this bias that there are two sides to the coin, really. I think it goes back to what I shared earlier, that how you introduce AI to a child is very important. You must, from the word go, embed that sort of responsibility in them in dealing with these tools, as opposed to creating victims. I took time to elevate the children's thought process and mind, to first of all breaking down this AI concept and tell them that it's not rocket science for them to fear. But I took time to also raise open their eyes to the fact that they are in charge. Because as parents, you're not always going to be there. Foundation, it goes back to the mindset. When I was in the US, I saw young people building AI. And this was a young person. She was about how many? 13 years? The way these Americans approach AI is so different. I mean, the boldness by which they approach these tools and how they use them, it goes back to how they were groomed. It goes back to the foundations. It goes back to those earlier conversations they had with their parents when these things were introduced to them. Like I said, if you do not create that responsibility in the child from the word go, you are not going to be there everywhere, monitoring what they are using, monitoring which phone, monitoring which laptop, monitoring where and when they use the AI. Now, me, I'm a Christian. There's a scripture in the Bible says that raise up a child in the way they should go. And when they grow up, the Bible says they shall not depart from it. Very fundamental. Me, it goes back to how did you introduce this AI concept to them for them to know that, yes, these tools are there, but you are responsible. You can use this AI for bad, or you can use it for good. Notwithstanding the fact that AI is not neutral, it reflects the worldview of the people that create it, right? So that's also there. So because it's not neutral, let us define, let's have that grounding in our children from the word go. AI tools are not neutral. They always have a hidden intention around it. Obviously, we know that. But for me, it goes back to the core of the child and what they understand. Because the children, which are, we must, because I'm telling you, you're not going to always hide these things from them. This digital evolution is, I mean, children are exposed to too much. You can only go so far. I don't know if I'm communicating. You can only go so far in hiding this and hiding that phone. Don't sit here. You can only go so far. That is also important, but fundamentally, it must go down to that core conversation with the children. I think that's how I'll take it. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nesta. Over to you, Jonathan. What are the biggest gaps you see in how institutions currently implement DNS security for schools and youth-focused platforms?
Thank you, Sheila, and all the speakers. And I want us to flip the coin. Sheila, if you allow me a minute before I answer that. One, AI is a technology. And a technology is like any type of innovation. A technology in itself cannot, it's an innovation really. It can't be bad or good. The problem is in how we use it. Secondly, the concern I have for parents, why are our children using ChatGPT? As a person who has been in this area for over 15 years, the tools that are on the market were developed to solve particular problems. And fortunately or unfortunately, some of these problems are concentrated with what we do in the workforce and in the business arena. Now, I can summarize by saying, if you get a car and give it to your child, you can then not blame the inventor of the car. Because the question is, why are you giving a car to a minor? And these are the things that I feel we're ignoring. So the current models, which are these LLMs that we see, which most of us sort of attribute to what AI is. So these LLMs, let me even go to reasoning engines. All these reasoning engines that are out there, ChatGPT, Claude, Copilot, Perplexity, name them. Those engines were not built for children, and they were also not built for everyone. That's why even in the workforce, we are very careful on even letting staff use, because one, you don't know what data is in there, who has checked the accuracy of this data. There are all these other things we have all mentioned, ethics, fairness, equity, governance. There are so many of these things around. But remember, with AI has been here longer. It was used in the 50s. It's even used in the 1800s. If you allow me at a later date to ever go down into this discussion. So what I wanted us to first of all understand is that in as much as we are identifying all these things, I don't want us to miss the bigger picture. The bigger picture is that these tools are invented by individuals, and the tools are not there to solve all the problems on earth. So every innovator comes up with a tool, and other innovators invent on top of what they've built. Just like medicine. Medicine has side effects, but that doesn't mean that we don't consume it. So I can end by the disclaimer of, for me, when it comes to AI, I want to put a label that keep out of reach of children, just like medicine, because the tool is not designed for a child. And anyone really who exposes the child to the tool is actually more to blame. And those are the people we need to hold responsible than the child. Even when it comes to a trainer, I'm an educationalist and I love training. The training that we call training necessarily doesn't mean, just like calculators, there is where a calculator is needed, there is where a calculator is not needed. So as parents, we can't blame the person who invented the calculator. The question is, we have the right to know when a child needs a calculator, even homework. I use ChatGPT as the parent if I don't know the answer. One, because my role is to pay fees. It's not to go through the child and know what the child is doing. So I, as a parent, can go and look for the answer myself. But I can't give my daughter or my son the ChatGPT to look for the answer. So I can know the answer for me, and then I will support the child in getting the answer. Now, back to the question that Sheila has asked me, and I say this in good faith as a person who has been on both sides of the coin. So I'm a person who builds AI, and I am also an advocate for responsible and safe use. But I want to also caution us that this tool is not built for some of the things we want it to build. Now, to begin answering the question Sheila is answering, the thing is, you can't tell your neighbor how to use the things that they have invented. I was just joking with one of my colleagues at work that if I've designed a car, you can't wake up and start telling me how I should be driving it. The question is, you also build your own. Now, one of the things in the AI fraternity that we are lacking, and this is a problem world over, we need to create solution architects. Solution architects are people who begin to solve and create. So we need people that are coming up with AI solutions that meet the kind of expectations and the needs we are discussing. Now, world over, we haven't begun developing AI for children. And like I said, for me, who has been there for 15 years, I'm in a hospital trying to build AI for clinical practice. I'm in aviation trying to make sure the aviations, the planes are using it properly. I'm in banking doing things like credit scoring. I mean, there are so many things that we are doing. Now, the question is, we need now to get other innovators. Right now, when I was given the topic by Cliff, one of the things that has been at my heart, even before I came on, is that how do we create safe solutions for children? We have even skipped the bigger point. How do we create an LLM? How do we get data which is safe for children? You get where I'm coming from? And this is not only a Ugandan problem, it's a problem globally. That's why it starts. So if we begin taking responsibility of the things that our children are using, then we're in control of things like safety, ethics. But for as long as we think that we are going to use other people's inventions with our concerns in mind, it never really works. So I encourage the developers who are here, I'm one of them, that we need to see solutions that address some of these things. One of the outcomes of this particular conversation can be, how then do we change the trajectory? So the question is, how do we create an AI solution that is safe for children and it can score across all the other things we have talked about? Now, back to the question, Sheila, that you asked me of institutions and DNS. I've been in this field for over two decades. And one of the things that plague our society, somebody talked about the US. One of the things that we are fighting here is the digital literacy, unfortunately, still low. We have other problems like exposure to digital technology that is still low, and also that drives appreciation. The appreciation is still low. Now, when it comes to this subject matter, I wish this could be televised and so many parents are on here, headmasters, deans, because this conversation are things that they need to hear. Otherwise, what you find, which we all see when we are in the practices we are in, most of the people that are doing these things are not very abreast with some of these things we are talking about, and others are too busy trying to make these things work that they don't have time to focus on the other things that most of us are focusing on. So when it comes to institutions and DNS, advocacy would be one of those things. We need to all become ambassadors and advocates for responsible use. So when it comes to safety and safety protocols at a DNS level, that is something we can do in the institutions, even the workplace. So how many of us are familiar with safety protocols when it comes to our workplaces? So it starts from there. And that's why I say that world over, it's even worse in Africa. Almost 70% of cyber-related crimes and IT breaches are basically as a result of lack of training. If we can train, we can actually do away with most of these problems. So in totality, by and large, from what Sheila you're asking, I feel from a DNS perspective, we can look at things like one, advocacy. We need to have advocacy which sensitizes. Two, there must be policy formulation, and then also adherence. Formulating policy is one thing, but adherence is another. So you find that there are no policies around AI. I was at a conference last year, and the minister for ICT promised that we'll have one for Uganda. I'm sure there's also one that has come up for Africa. But as we are building the policies, things are not static. Technology is obsolescent, meaning things are changing. So meaning that even the way policies are being done, they must be done faster, and we have to update them as fast as we can. So that sort of paints a picture of how, if you look at advocacy, policy formulation, and adherence, and then finally the topic I love the most, we must be architects. So we need to get to a level as Uganda and as Africa where we become architects. Now, as Jonathan, as a practitioner, when I hear these things, my next course of action, what then can I do? And one of it, like I said, is sensitizing parents. If your child is using ChatGPT, you're the problem, not the child. Because why would I find a child on a steering wheel? That's why even for social media, they say if you, even social media, much as it's social, there is also an age cap. Unfortunately, for things like AI, there is no age cap because the children can get the tablets, they can get our phones, but even when they are grabbing our phones, that doesn't mean that they can do as much as they can on the phones. So it goes back to us as parents. If you have, it's not even about AI. Being safe online means, are you aware of who is using your Wi-Fi at home? Do you have a mechanism to track who is using your Wi-Fi? Which devices have connected? What have they done? Do you even have filters that for certain things like this, even this TV, like I've talked about Netflix, I set Netflix for all the different ages. And then I have the responsibility to go and check what have these kids watched, even knowing what the child likes. You find that some of our children are interesting in the terms of the things they love. Now, as parents, have we done that? Because that's what creates precedent for parental controls. You cannot really control through AI. You have to take responsibility. Now, I don't want to drag the conversation. My prayer for us that are listening is that we pick a leaf from what I'm saying. We have looked at one side of the coin. I'm flipping the other side of the coin to us, that the responsibility is greater with us. It is us who are going to protect the children. Abroad, people are doing it well. You've given a case study of Sweden. If you realize that tech is removing these cognitive behaviors, then the question is, what are we doing as educators? Otherwise, I yield back to you, Sheila. I hope I've answered the question.
Yes, you have answered the question exceptionally well. I'm going to I've shortened it to one question each per panelist, and my next round of questions is going to be open to the floor, and it's going to be quick in just 2 minutes. And I want either one word or one sentence answers only. Anyone can unmute themselves and respond. One word that should guide AI development for children, or AI development and AI.
Safety.
Thank you. One digital skill that every young person must have by the age of 18.
I think I'll go with prompting.
Pardon, what was that?
Prompting, PROMPT. Prompting.
Prompting. Okay. And one online risk that doesn't get talked about enough.
Exposure to personal data.
Wow, that's a good one, Irene.
Especially with the new AI trend.
Yeah,
where
true.
you are just
True.
sharing. Yeah.
And this goes without saying, I have a big problem with these trends that put your picture in AI and then it does a caricature of what you do. I have a big vendetta against that, and a number of them that have been coming up of recent. Put your picture. I'm going to just go through my part very fast. That is the youth engagement spotlight, highlighting initiatives for DNS education, child online protection, and safe digital practices. Being that today is Safer Internet Day, it's important to recognize that young people are not just online users, but we are active partners in building a safer internet. In fact, we are the biggest stakeholders. The good thing is across Uganda, youth-led initiatives are promoting DNS education, which helps young people understand how secure DNS protects against harmful content, phishing, and unsafe websites. This is done through schools, tech hubs, and peer learning and webinars like these, which are being turned into practical tools for safety. We also see that young advocates are leading conversations on online child protection, be it in the technical space, in spaces like these, or in the digital and social workers space. They're raising awareness about cyberbullying, misinformation, and responsible use of AI. This has been portrayed in this election period that we have recently gone through, where we saw an increased awareness of curbing misinformation and then also fighting against cyberbullying compared to the last 5 years, which is good. And these efforts show that online safety is not only about technology, but also about digital responsibility and informed choices. So by promoting safe digital practices, we young people are helping create online spaces that are safer, smarter, and more inclusive. Yeah. So do not worry, Irene. The people that are in the remote areas will not be left behind. When youth are empowered with knowledge, they do not just use the internet, but they also help protect and shape it. And with that, I would like to welcome Cliff from the Uganda DNS Forum to give closing remarks.
Thank you so much, Sheila. It's been great listening in. I always tell people that I'm a lifelong learner. I do not always make an assumption that I have all the knowledge I need in this world. Every opportunity to listen to someone is an opportunity to learn, and I've really learned a lot from all the panelists today. You have provoked my thinking. You have even sparked new ideas, new pathways to see what better we can do for our young generation. But then also you have given us a reason to continue doing what we are doing. You've given us a reason to keep going, and you have we believe that they always say that two heads are better than one, and as a multi-stakeholder body, we always believe in collaboration, and hope at some point we will work out some action items from this meeting, because we look forward to having not just another webinar, not just another event, but rather we want to be intentional because we are the ones to frame the internet that we want. We all know that the internet is for everyone, but not everyone gets a chance to participate in building the internet that they want. And having you here is proof that the internet we want is something that we are to build together. And together we move forward, together we rise. And allow me also to say thank you again to the panelists and to all of you that have made time to attend this event. Maybe just to give you a highlight of what's coming ahead. Last year, we convened the inaugural DNS Forum, and we had it at the Uganda Communications Commission. And this year, we are looking at convening the second edition of the Uganda DNS Forum, and we are doing a series of activities, activations to build up to the forum for this year. We are also looking at inviting different stakeholders to host sessions. So be on the lookout for the call when it comes out. We want this to be participatory, and we want it to be a forum that is for you and a place where you can be able to expand on the work that you are doing. And once again, thank you for being part of this journey. And together we can continue working towards a safer, more inclusive, and more resilient internet for Uganda and beyond. Thank you, and over to you, Sheila.
Thank you so much, Cliff, for those remarks, and thank you so much for having us as contributors to this vital space. And I think with that, if there aren't any other remarks from anyone, we can close the meeting. Is there anyone that would like to say anything? Okay, then I think that is it. Thank you so much, Jonathan and Esther, Irene, and Nesta Paul. Thank you so much, because people are doing such amazing work in your respective, areas. And it was a very good decision to have you speak to us, because we have learned so much from all of you. I see your hand is up. Yes.
I just want to also again extend a vote of appreciation to the speakers. When I reached out to them, all of them immediately said yes. And I just want to say thank you again for your availability. I know January, February are usually busy times, but the fact that you've got enough time of your busy schedules to be here really means a lot to me. It means a lot to the Uganda DNS Forum. And thank you so much, and looking forward to doing more stuff together.
And they are big people, they're not ordinary people. I've interacted with the Otic Foundation before. Early last year, I think it was in Women's Day last year, there's a training I did with them. And I've also met Jonathan at last year's DNS Forum, and I've been following Irene's work for a while, so they are not big people. So it is a huge honor that they took off time to meet us and talk to us on this webinar. Thank you so much. And yeah, we hope to connect more on LinkedIn. You can reach out to them for anything else. And I see we have actually kept time. We started late by 15 minutes and we have ended late by 15 minutes. So thank you so much, everyone, for taking time to be here. Departure is at leisure. Have a blessed evening.